Welcome to my quick tip, optimizing a full sheet of watercolor paper to reduce the waste. When I paint, I use a variety of sizes of paper depending on the task I'm doing. It could be an exercise, it could be just a color sample, or it could be a painting. And so I'll utilize pieces of paper from a full sheet all the way down to what I call a mini. And I get all these out of a full sheet of watercolor paper. So when cutting up a full sheet of watercolor paper, which is fairly expensive, I try to optimize for minimal waste. The image that you're looking at is a drawer in a flat file that I have where I keep my paper, and I keep myself stocked on all the sizes of paper that I use, so it's ready to go whenever I need it. I have a fixed set of standardized sizes that I use in order to minimize the waste that I get when cutting up a full sheet of watercolor paper. Starting from the top of this list is a full sheet, 22 by 30 inches. I use this for large paintings. The half sheet is pretty much the same thing I use for large paintings, and a true half sheet is 15 by 22 inches, but I don't like the proportion of that, so I take another 2 inches off and make it 15 by 20 inches, which makes it the same proportion as a full sheet or a quarter sheet. The next size is a quarter sheet, and that's 11 inches by 15 inches, and I'll use that for medium-sized paintings where I'll do exercises or experimentation on it. The small is 8 inches by 10 inches, and I'll do small paintings or exercises or just do color experimentation on them. And the mini is the same thing. I'll do very small paintings or just do some experimentation or exercises on that size. And one of the other nice things about having a standard size of paper that I work on is it lines up with standard size matting and framing. The mini, which is 5 1/4 inch by 7 1/4 inch, works well with a standard 8 by 10 inch mat and frame. The small 8 by 10 inch works well with a standard 11 by 14 mat and frame. And the quarter sheet, 11 inch by 15 inch, works well with a 16 by 20 inch mat and frame. When I do a painting on a half sheet or a full sheet of watercolor paper, I pretty much have to use custom matting and framing. So I'm going to start with the largest and go to the smallest. If I'm going to do a full sheet painting, obviously, I don't have to do anything. I just use the paper as it comes, and there's no waste. Now, when I want to start going down in size, I measure and mark on my paper and cut with a knife to the size that I want. So the next size down is a half sheet, and I'll get 2 half sheets, obviously, out of a full sheet of watercolor paper, and then I like to take the 2 inches off the bottom because it gives me the proportion that I like, and I'll use that excess as scraps of paper that I can experiment on if I want to with color or texture or anything else. So there's not much waste in the half sheet even when I take 2 inches off it. The next size is a quarter sheet, and obviously you just divide the paper into 4 quarters and you have 0 waste. So this is a very efficient way to do a smaller painting and get 0 waste out of your full sheet of watercolor paper. And this is a size that I use quite often anymore. It's handy for a lot of things. I use it for exercises, and I'll use paintings on it. If you want to mix it up, you can get a half sheet and 2 quarters out of a sheet. And for me, I just have that small area of the 2 inches that I like to take off as waste. Next are my 2 smaller sizes. And I need to be creative in laying this out so I don't get a lot of waste when cutting these. And I found a layout that works for me. And what I do is the 10-inch dimension of this paper, I can cut in 3 lengths along the length of the full sheet, and there's no waste in that direction. And I can get 6 8 by 10 small pieces of paper out of a full sheet. And then I have the area at the top. And what I do with the area at the top is it's large enough for me to get my minis out of. So I can get 4 of the mini size paper out of the strip that's left at the top. And I'll measure that separately. So you have to be careful on how you cut this, because you can't cut straight across with your small paintings because you'll cut it in the space you want to use for your minis. So you need to cut that mini strip off there first, and then you can divide it into smaller areas. But I get 6 small pieces of paper out of this and 4 minis. So, and very little waste, just a small strip in between the two sizes. So it's an efficient way to use up a full sheet of watercolor paper. I hope this quick tip was helpful and can maybe help save you some waste on your paper. If you have additional questions about my materials, you can go to the studio page on my website, rsurowiczart.com. If you have specific questions, you can email me at contact@rsurowiczart@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.